Hey everyone, yeah, so thanks for tuning into my channel. Today we're going to do another quick in the lab session. This one is really regarding something that's got nothing to do with overclocking or PCs per se, but it's mainly around the internet and how we connect to it. So my streams are all broadcast from South Africa. I'm based in Johannesburg. I don't have very good ADSL here. There's no fiber available in my area, so I'm limited to the best connection I can get is LTE, so long-term evolution network. It's really great. It came with a router that I got with my package from my ISP. It's really not bad. In the beginning, I was getting like 80 meg down and 10 meg up. Now that the networks are getting slightly saturated, it has changed. I'm getting, on average, about 30 meg down and about 6 meg up. So not bad, but the onboard wireless and a couple other things with this router really wasn't great. So I started looking around and seeing what I could find and what was on the market. And as you know, I'm a fairly big fan of the REG brand. And so my first place I looked was to see, does ASUS actually supply a product? And lo and behold, they've actually got a fairly good range of networking products available. So what my mission was to go and see if I could get my hands on some of these to try and test them out to see, are they any better? Do they have any better functionality than what I'm used to, especially with, you know, the modems that were supplied with the package. So it's very stock standard modem. So the price ranges of the routers available from ASUS do range from entry level to, you know, like way out there above my price bracket. But that's besides the point. It's more about, does it give me an advantage over what I've already got, and yeah, what functionality is available. And so that's what I'm going to have a look at tonight. So the router in question is the ASUS 4G-AC55U, I think it is. Yeah, A55U. It's the LTE modem. That's this beauty thing here. Okay, it's got straight away on the back foot, it's got the really nice looking aesthetics that fits in with your house. If you're looking for something a little bit fancy, it's not ugly and white and bold and standing out and streaming at you. It does have 3 antennas. These 2 here are removable. So if you've got external antennas, you can do that. Now, I've got the Telkom LTE package that came with the external antenna. Now, the drawback to this router, straight on the back foot, the first thing I noticed is that the connectors are opposite to what I've got on my antenna. So I need to get an adapter, female to female adapter, in order to test it with the external antenna. But we haven't worried about that just for the initial testing. So it's got the 3 antennas, 2 are removable, so you can use the external antenna, and then 1 is fixed. Okay, so they do all rotate and they are adjustable for your desired orientation. On the back of the router, we do have a 4-port gigabit network connector along with the internet plug. So if you've got ADSL and you're using this for failover, you can plug your existing internet connection into there to share it on your Wi-Fi. It's also got a USB 2 port which can be used for 3G failover. That's very handy for there again. If your LTE goes down, you can then fall back onto the 3G networks. And then obviously there is some signal settings and some other options there, which I'm not really going to go into very much. So that's the look and the functionality on the back and the front of the router. What I'm going to have a look at now is the actual configuration screens and what I think are really handy functionalities to have in there. Okay, so I've got to the router's default address, 192.168.1.1. The default username and password is admin and admin, right? You really need to make sure that you change that once you do your initial configuration. Let's just go ahead and maximize this a little bit. So the initial display that you're presented with gives you a really nice broad overview of what's going on with your router. On the top right hand corner, your green icons, you can see what the current status is of each of the devices. So I've got LTE connection, my SIM card is in, I've got network, and my wireless is up and running. Okay, so each one of these icons can be clicked on, and it would bring up the status or the configuration there of each one. So you can see the clients. I can separate it by wide and by the different 2 clients. So don't go ahead and steal my MAC addresses there. The guest network option, very straightforward. That would enable you to make a SSID or a access point for guests. So if you want them to be able to break out to the internet, but not be able to access your computers on your network, you then go and create that SSID for those people. Traffic Manager, really cool. Gets your quality of service. I tested both methods of quality of service, which is the I think it's bandwidth and traditional quality of service. It did limit the download bandwidth really nicely. On my testing, it didn't upload the upload bandwidth. So I've sent an email off to ASUS to just ask them about that. You've got a nice real-time traffic manager graph, so you can see what's going on. And in fact, while we're at it, let's go ahead and do a speed test. While we've got the traffic manager open, I haven't tested this before, so I'm quite interested to see what that does. I am using the internal antennas, so I'm not using my external antennas because I haven't bought myself the two dongles yet to plug the antenna in, or the two adapters. And yeah, so I should be getting around 10 to 15 meg download speeds, and upload speeds almost 10 megasecond, which is really, really good in comparison to what my other router provides with the external antenna. So my upload with the external antenna on the other router is only at 6.9 meg. And, you know, I'm really, really impressed by that. So as that's running, we can then go ahead and just go across to here, and there we can actually see in real time what's going on the actual network. And that's really handy if you're wanting to know who is doing what. I'm hoping that you could maybe even separate this out to saying, right, well, the bandwidth is per user or per MAC address, but unfortunately it doesn't look like you can do that. There might be the functionality. I haven't looked too hard. So the quality of service, to enable it, I found it very user-friendly, very straightforward. If for traditional, you can then set the upload and the download bandwidth. And for bandwidth limiter, it's a slightly more complicated. You need to then select the MAC address or the device that you're wanting to limit, and then you actually do a customized limit per user. So really handy. I find it very handy, very easy to use compared to some of the other quality of service options I've seen on other devices. Your parental controls, I had a lot of fun testing that. So what this enabled me to do is once again select a device or a user. Using either the DNS name or the MAC address, and then what I could do is I could actually limit. So I took my iPhone or my iPad, in fact, the one that my fiance likes to use, and from 10 o'clock at night until 6 o'clock in the morning, I restricted all of her access. And it was really easy to configure there. Again, you just open up the device and then you say, right, that's the time where she can have access, and then obviously everywhere else is dark gray, is the access to denied. So that's me time, and she must put the iPad down and come and spend some time with me. So I found that really cool, and that was very handy and very easy to use once again. The USB application was a nice touch. I have seen this on other devices, but the AI disk and the download master I thought was quite handy. The media services and network printer I thought was quite straightforward. And then you've got the AI cloud, which is obviously a service offered by ASUS for anybody that owns a router. It's quite nice. You can do your cloud disk smart access and smart sync. So it can simplify doing some online cloud backups and things like that. The configuration on the wireless was very straightforward. There was no options that I ran into that I couldn't find, and it offered a full range of authentication methods and configurations and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go into each one individually. If there's anything that you'd like me to cover in detail or have a look at in detail at a later stage, drop me a message on the chat and or on the direct message, and we can go through it. So the LAN functionality, you can set up your IP addresses, DHCP server, root IP, and switch control. So it's all very nice, straightforward stuff there. Your WAN configuration, right? So all pretty straightforward. You've got dual WAN. That's the blue port on the back of the router. That enables you to have a secondary input. So if you've got ADSL or fiber, something to that effect, you can have LTE and fiber coming into the same router, and it should enable you to then have failover or to have better speed. So you've got your virtual server, port forwarding, your demilitarized zone. DDNS is offered by ASUS.com. So that's advantage, or you can configure any of the other multiple options that you have here. And then you've got your net pass-through. That's pretty straightforward. You do have IP version 6, which I've got disabled. My network's not configured for that. What I really, really liked about this router and the software on this router is the VPN Server and the VPN Client options. Now, let me give you a scenario. You've got your parents sitting in Bloemfontein. you've got your sister sitting in Cape Town and you sitting in Johannesburg. Now, what this VPN server can do is on my network, I can set up the server and an account for each one of my family members. They would then be able to VPN into my network over a secure connection and access my file server that I've got sitting here at home. So they can get easy access to all of our photos and videos that we take of the kids and all that sort of stuff. The other option is there is a VPN client as well, which now would enable these routers to automatically configure a virtual private network between the three houses. So if they've also got the ASUS router, they can configure their router to connect to my VPN, and vice versa if they had the VPN on their side. This can also be used to connect to your automatic VPNs and your seed boxes and all that sort of stuff. So it's really, really nice functionality. I was really impressed to see that there, and I had lots of fun playing with it. So yeah, I was able to connect to this machine from my work network to check what's happening on the streaming server, because I'm busy syncing a whole lot of files. So I really like that functionality. The firewall looks quite great. So you got your keyword filters and your network service filters and IP version 6 firewall. Really cool stuff going on there as well. And then you've got your operational modes on your administration side. You can do firmware updates. You can restore the settings. You can save the settings. Really great functionality, as well as the system logs, which I really liked. The fact that the logs are separated. So I can go into the wireless logs, I can go into the DHCP logs, and I can have a look at each individual log rather than it all being on single log, which I find is common practice with a lot of other routers out there. The network tools are your stock standard pings and all that sort of stuff. Yep, so in a nutshell, that is the configuration. There is a quick internet setup wizard if you are not so intellectually, technology inclined. That can walk you through it. I found it exceptionally user-friendly though, and had no problems getting it up and running. For the network that I'm on, I put the SIM card in, switched it on, reset factory defaults, configured the DHCP, and I was A for away on my whole network. Very minimal interruption to anything. To wrap things up, what I don't like about the router is that it doesn't support the 2300 megahertz LTE band. Telkom initially rolled out their LTE on the 2300 megahertz. So if your tower hasn't got 1800 megahertz, you might have a problem running this router if you are a Telkom internet customer. The other service providers, I'm not too sure what they have on offer. It might just be good for you to check before you rush out and buy one of these. What I really did like is I like the look of the router. I like the user interface. I find it really user-friendly, and it works compared to what I've seen on other routers. I like the dual wireless, so the 2.4G and the 5G, and I really, really like the VPN functionality. I'm going to try and roll that out between the whole family so that we can all be on the same network without any of the complications that come in with having to do other sort of VPN solutions. In a nutshell, I'm going to continue to test this. I'm going to try and get my hands on the female-to-female connector so I can try the external antenna. But overall, I'm really impressed. And guys, I think on that, I'm going to wrap this up and say until next time, happy benching.